Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia.
In the spirit of
Putin
love
is a
and
Chabadnik.
fellowship, I offer my congratulations and blessings for the success and flourishing of this sacred endeavor. May the grace of the Almighty guide and bless the members of this beautiful community, the hands of those who built this place, this temple, and the many visitors who search for consolation in their spiritual guests. Prayerfully yours, Archbishop Elpidophoros, the leader of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America.
I still had tenuous connections, but I just now... It's insane. You can see the whole deal. See around a bunch of sellout Muppets. The thing is, they're selling out to lose. They're selling out to fall. When you sell out, you don't win. And I am an organic, caged response to seeing what's going on. I mean, I see it. It's there. It's enemies admitting they're doing it to me. I'm just like, we got to do something. We got to organize. We got to get involved. We got to stand up. And I see the ruined humanity out there, just ruined.
But let me continue here. I'll be intellectual today and speak in this vernacular for you. How does that sound?
The parish level, as it were, and recalibrating it at the elite, transcultural, trans-religious level, and so on. And then all the problems he had with NATO inviting Georgia and Ukraine into their fold after he explicitly told them in 2007, if I recall, you cannot do this. We see this as an existential threat. The movement of NATO towards Russia is going to provoke a response from us, blah, blah, blah. John Mearsheimer talks about that. Even Henry Kissinger was warning against that. And around 2010, 2012, it was when he ran for the third term as president. He started talking about Russia as a civilization state. Started using that term in his speeches, and he basically said the West is dead. We can't compromise with them. We can't work together with them. It's their way or the highway. Liberalism is a totalizing system that's going to completely wipe out. It's going to finish what communism started. It's going to wipe out our religious civilizational tradition. The only way that Russia has any future is we go back to our traditions that gave us 1,000-year civilization. If we do that, we'll have another 1,000-year civilization. For lack of a better term, he seems to have a very real cultural conversion. And that's when the church and the state literally begin forming a symphonia. That spiritual security really starts working itself up. Churches are being built left and right. They were already doing that, but then all of a sudden now we had St. Nicholas Cathedral, a naval cathedral that's being built, a military cathedral, very famous military cathedral that was just built on one of their bases outside of Moscow. And he began to speak in distinctively Russian neo-Orthodox, not the theology, neo-Orthodox, Orthodox Christian civilizational terms. And there's just no way around it. Say what you want about the guy. Say, I don't like how he runs, blah, blah. Sorry, it's irrelevant to the fact that this man, more than I think anyone else, has embodied the spirit of the revitalization of an ancient civilization and an ancient theology of church and state and the Symphonia more than anyone else we've seen literally since Tsar Nicholas. And so I have to tip my hat to the guy. He's absolutely stunning in terms of his foresight, his entire vision of the world. It's not just Russia. He recognizes that the pivot towards the East, the pivot towards China, the pivot towards India, the pivot towards Iran, even the pivot towards Turkey. There's a lot of tension. The pivot there. Very good relations with Israel. Very good relations with Sub-Saharan Africa. Very good relations with the whole of the Middle East. Very good relations with Venezuela and Cuba and so forth. He recognizes that this is the recalibration of 80% of the world away from the West.
If a prince wants to conquer a city, and the city does not want to be conquered, they would hate him. But if the prince pays criminals to kill cows, burn barns, smash windows, set things on fire, the people will panic in fear and cry out for help, and the prince will come in. Get rid of the very criminals he bribed to create the problem. Nobody will know the better for it, and everyone will praise the prince as a hero. So it's good marketing. You create the need and fill it. You go around the back of the house and set it on fire, then you go around the front of the house and sell them a fire extinguisher. And they'll pay anything for it and even thank you for being there. So it's called Machiavellianism, where you create or capitalize on a crisis to consolidate control.
Not, I guess, be prejudiced with their past feelings about something or a specific country.
Yeah, there's a weird hangover from the Cold War is all I can figure. And it's like that there's still some sort of communist regime leading Russia right now. It's almost like if we just assumed everyone in Germany was a word that I can't say or I'll get flagged. But you know what I'm saying? No one looks at Germany and says, oh, well, they still want to do this to these groups of people. It's like, that's done. That war's over with. Like everyone's moved on from that. It's bizarre.
Has brought all the peoples of the world into subjection to us. Therein we shall emphasize its mystical right. Of course, this is in accord with the more profound revolutionaries who saw that the revolution must become religious in the end. Atheism is only a transition in order to get rid of previous religious views. In the meantime, while we are re-educating youth in new traditional religions, and afterwards, in ours, we shall not overtly lay a finger on existing churches, but we shall fight against them by criticism calculated to produce schism. The second new ingredient in this revolutionary proposal is that there will be one world monarch.
Moscow linked, something that they're doing to try to undermine their own government, then go after those specific people. But to go after an entire religious entity that's been there for over 1,000 years is absurd.
Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik. Until today, Chabad owns Russia. Putin is a Chabadnik.
I see.